Hi, welcome to myprojectbazaar.com. In this video, we'll providing that complete demo about the project of application checkpointing in grid environment with improved checkpoint reliability through replication. Grid technologies are emerging as the next generation of distributed computing, allowing the aggregation of heterogeneous resources that are geographically distributed. The heterogeneous nature of the grid makes it more vulnerability to faults, which lead to either the failure of the job or delay in completing the execution of the job. Checkpointing is one of the many fault tolerance techniques which are used to make grid more efficient and reliable. In this paper, we have developed an application checkpointing based on fault tolerance techniques for algorithmic based grid environment. In this technique, application thread generates the checkpointing and store them in the checkpoint table at the manager node. In case a thread fails, checkpointing of the corresponding thread is used to resuming a execution from the point of failure. This technique introduces a slight overhead in fault-free situations but very efficient in case of a node failure. Increasing checkpointing frequencies improves jobs resuming capability but also increases the overhead of generation and storing checkpoint, which results in increasing processing time of the job. Next we are going to see the flow of this process. For this one, first we need to create the grid environment. After creating this grid environment, we have to creating the set of resources and set of grid information servers for the execution process. After we creating this, we have to collect the job from users and submitting these jobs to grid resource scheduler. Before that, the grid resource scheduler will computing that each grid resource grid utilization factor and computing that initial failure ratio. After this, they have to computing the expected time for all resources for a single job and they have to selecting that minimum expected time for executing the job. After this, we have to creating the checkpoint for each job and we have to make an entry for each jobs in the checkpoint table in manager node. After we selecting this, we have to submitting the jobs to each allocated resources. Finally, we have to executing the job with the checkpointing mechanism in the executor node. The executor node will randomly updating the checkpoint table for the status of each job. After this, we have to get the results from grid simulator and we have to computing that failure will be occurred or not. If failure will be occurred means the fault rate of resource will be getting increased and the job will be resubmitted by using the checkpoint resuming mechanism. For running this process, we have to running that homepage 1.java file. In this process, initially we providing the number of grid local schedulers and we have to choosing that input file for the routing table. So this will showing the global resource scheduler and local resource scheduler routers for communicating that grid resource servers and grid information server and as well as the users. After this, we have to providing that number of users, number of resources and number of grid information server as well as number of jobs for each resources and number of machines as well as number of processing time and the name of the grid resource. This is a common name for grid resource. Then we have to setting that property and clicking the create grid information server and also creating the grid resource. Then we have to creating that users and the number of gridlets. Then we have to creating that resource properties. This will showing that each resource properties they have to communicating with which scheduler and how many cost for per job mi, and we have to getting the delay for GP per second in unit and we have to getting that rating of executing their nodes. After this, we have to saving this into that SQL. This will help us basic schedulings of the processing. Next we need to for scheduling, initially we maintain the table which is containing that failure rate and the already allocated jobs. Initially we have to setting that failure rate as 0 and the already allocated job level will be a 0. After this we have to computing that each job's executed time and expected time. For this one, first we considering that one gridlet and computing the length of that job, and the thread available is the thread pool. This will be executed in that executor node. If the executor node is available means we have to computing that resource ID will get and getting that resource speed and computing the existing load and the average waiting time. If there is an existing load means the average time will be shown something like. Then we have to computing the expected time based on the formations of grid length divided by resource speed. By using this we have to computing the completion time. This completion time will be getted from expected time as well as waiting time. Then we have to computing for that each jobs for the same scenario. Then we have to computing the degree of imbalance. This degree of imbalance having three equations, L min, L max and L average. That L average value will be used to computing the degree of imbalance. In this table will showing that each resource degree of imbalance values. Then we have to computing that waiting time for each jobs in each resources. Here we have to showing that all user jobs and the waiting time of the jobs in nodes. Then we have to computing that expected time matrix. Expected time matrix will be showing that speed of the grid information server and gridlet length for each jobs. We have to computing the task completion time after adding of that waiting time and execution time. Then we have to providing that allocated list as average waiting time and execution time plus task completion time. Then finally we are allocating that node to resources. Then we have to submitting that all jobs to that grid resources in the allocated manner. Then they have to computing their job and providing the results. After getting that results we have to computing that execution time as well as information time, and we have to getting that success failure ratio for the job. That failure ratio if will occurring means that will be in the status of execution. If there is any executions will maintains means that will be showing as fault rate. Now the table will be updated by using allocated jobs and fault rate. So from this one we have to achieving the dynamic checkpoint fault rate scheduling mechanisms. This will improving that fault tolerant mechanisms. Thank you for watching.